Welcome everybody to the Town Board of the Town of Ossining special meeting and work session for Tuesday, February 16th, 2021, a special meeting in Town Hall. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Whoops, flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to start off with the roll call.
Yes, okay. Councilmember Wiltshire?
Present.
Councilmember Feldman?
Present.
Councilmember Meyer?
Present.
And Councilmember Shaw?
Present.
And Supervisor Levenberg?
I'm here. We have one item for which we needed to hold a special meeting this evening, so we're going to take care of that first, and then we will get into the topics on our town hall agenda.
Okay. Personnel reclassification of title, Highway Department. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby reclassifies the title of Charles Boughton Jr. from Automotive Mechanic Helper / Laborer to Automotive Mechanic effective February 8th, 2021, and be it further resolved that Mr. Boughton's salary remains at $88,897 for the remainder of 2021.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So Charles Boughton, or Chuck, as we call him, has been working for the town for over 10 years now, learning alongside our lead maintenance mechanic, Gary Cesari, and as part of the Teamsters contract that went into effect last year, he received a promotion from his auto mechanic helper laborer title to auto mechanic. It took quite a while to get the title sorted out with civil service, but we're glad to have him here for the long haul and see him grow in his position with the town. The salary increase associated with his promotion already went into effect when the contract was settled, so we're just changing his title tonight. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, so in that case, could I have a motion to adjourn this special meeting to our town hall meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, so before we get into our town hall meeting, I have a few announcements. This past weekend was Valentine's Day as well as President's Day, and I hope everyone took advantage of the wonderful special deals offered by our small businesses. It's important that we continue to support local businesses and not only our restaurants, of course, also our restaurants. Before you hit the add to cart button on an online giant's website, ask yourself if you can get the same product locally. Ossining has more businesses than you might think. In fact, there's more than 100 on North State Road alone. Be sure to support the places you love and tell others about them too. I just learned from Councilwoman Feldman that a new furniture store opened in the village right next to the Ossining Police Station. So if we're ever back to our in-person meetings, we can pop in beforehand and buy a couch or something. Thanks so much for posting, Councilwoman. If you missed the last session on reducing your heating and cooling bills of the Energy Smart Homes program, you can catch up again very, very soon. That's a program that we are doing in collaboration with Green Ossining, Sustainable Westchester, the villages of Briarcliff and Ossining, and also the Sustainability Committee in Briarcliff. You can discover customized clean heating and cooling solutions for your home, understand how energy efficiency can save you money and energy, plus learn about financial incentives and rebates offered by NYSERDA and through Con Edison. Join the webinar on Tuesday, February 23rd at 6 p.m. to meet the contractors, ask questions, and hear from your neighbors. You can register on the Sustainable Westchester website at sustainablewestchester.org or through their Facebook page. And I will also include a link in my supervisor's update this Friday. Since we have Susie Ross here, maybe Susie, it's also on the Green Ossining page. I'm guessing there's a link there too on the Facebook page. So you can find it there as well. Also, if you missed any of our postings about Ossining Public Libraries need to repair their beautiful Steinway piano that resides in the Boudars Theater, a very expensive endeavor, there's more about that as well. For Valentine's Day, the Mike Risco Band held a singing telegram fundraiser to help raise money for this wonderful cause. Thanks to Mike and Miriam for helping the library keep this musical treasure. You can watch their performances on the Mike Risco Music YouTube channel, and you can still order a video singing telegram from them for any occasion, and they'll donate the proceeds to help repair the piano. You can also donate directly to the repair on the OPL website, but it's just not as much fun. Think about those singing telegrams for your best friends. Switching tracks, we received some frustrating news this week about a new strain of COVID in New York. The South African variant of the disease was reported in a New York hospital through a resident who was transferred from Connecticut. This variant and the UK variant are more contagious. You may have heard that the CDC has updated their recommendations on mask wearing to help lower the risk of contracting these new strains, advising that people wear a tightly fitted mask or even 2 masks, layering a cloth mask over a medical mask like a surgical mask or a KN95 mask. If you wear those blue medical masks, you may have noticed that they're not flush to your face on the side, so wearing a cloth mask over that medical mask will improve the fit, allowing less air and germs to escape. The new guidance is a reminder that you should not be wearing the same one-layer t-shirt mask you made back in April. Update your personal protective equipment because ultimately it is there to protect you and your family. Mask wearing and social distancing remain critical to staying ahead of this pandemic. If you attended a gathering in the last week, please get a COVID test, even if you're not feeling any symptoms. Do not let yourself be an asymptomatic spreader of the virus. Austin has a lot of testing sites. New York State has a website feature called Find a Test Site Near You, which can help you make an appointment. Tests are also available at Star of Bethlehem Church, HealthSmart, Open Door, and I think we just heard that they're going to be back at the community center this Sunday, I think. You can see a list with more information in my supervisor's update, which is emailed and posted on the town website and Facebook page each Friday. Actually, I think Karina's on this one. Karina, do you happen to remember? Is she here? She's gone? I don't know where she went, but if you happen to remember the date for the community center, let me know. Finding a vaccine is unfortunately a little more difficult. Vaccines are purchased by the federal government and then distributed to each state, which turns around and distributes them to mass vaccination sites and pharmacies. The Biden administration ordered more vaccines, but it will still take a while for manufacturers to upscale their productions. This makes getting an appointment for a vaccine feel a little bit like winning the lottery. Thankfully, more vaccines will be headed our way soon. You can use the New York State website to make an appointment. First, it will request information about eligibility, then it will allow you to schedule an appointment. More people are eligible this week than were before. However, not all sites are vaccinating all people. For example, pharmacies are apparently tasked with vaccinating those 65 and older specifically. For the new comorbidity eligible, you must go to one of the state-run sites. For example, Westchester County Center or the Javits Center being the 2 closest. There are other sites that are not yet listed on the state website who will vaccinate those over 65. These include some local sites, including pharmacies such as HealthSmart and Walgreens, which just opened up. Websites for those local businesses are not always able to keep up with demand, so please be patient and respectful to employees as they do their best to help as many as they can. Many of us have heard about people who are creating bots or websites to help people find open vaccine appointments in New York. Right now, the majority of these appointments are for sites in New York City or mass vaccination sites across the state, the closest of which is the Westchester County Center. You can register with TurboVax. Also, I just learned of a new app through Greg Billig. That's B as in boy, ILLIG as in girl.com. And you can choose the site that you want to find out when appointments open up, and you will get a text message to your phone. These programs will not reserve an appointment for you. They just help you see when an appointment opens up. And it's important to consider that these programs are just tools in our toolkit, but we have to also be wary of potential scams. Do not enter your insurance information or any other private information into a website unless it's connected to a pharmacy, a healthcare provider, or New York State directly. Remember that vaccines are always free and you cannot pay to hold your place in line. Residents are encouraged to report vaccine fraud or abuse to the state hotline at 833-VAX, VAX, scam. Karina, did you find that out? Did you hear my question before, or were you not on?
Yes. So the appointments are available from 10 to 3 on Sunday, the 21st, and you have to register through Westchester Medical Center, and they're available, their interface is available in English and Spanish.
Okie doke. Great. So that's for testing, just to be clear, not for vaccinations. Testing at the community center. Thank you. The Town of Ossining Senior Services Department has been assisting seniors with scheduling their COVID vaccine appointments. We've also received information from the town of Greenberg, who was able to put in place a volunteer program they call Greenberg COVID Angels to help seniors who may not have computer access or have difficulty on a phone or computer to set up appointments for vaccines. We are hoping to get as many volunteers who are committed to helping our Ossining seniors as they did, so we can try to replicate their program. I believe they already have helped over 1,000 seniors get appointments. If you know a senior who needs help navigating this process, or you are interested in volunteering to help seniors make these appointments, please contact my office. I get to hear myself twice. You can reach me at 914-762-6001 or by emailing dlevenberg@townofosney.com. The town, both villages, and government at many different levels have been offering resources for residents. We know these are challenging times, and you may not know where to turn. The Ossining Food Pantry is continuing to assist residents in offering gift cards and vouchers for food. They're also partnering with Feeding Westchester to pack and distribute fresh food. Food distribution takes place each Tuesday at noon at Trinity Church next to Ossining High School on North Highland, and at 4 p.m. at Horak Ministries on Croton Avenue. On Fridays, Galata House distributes hot meals in the Stop and Shop parking lot starting at 4 p.m. Galata House has distributed almost 150,000 meals throughout Westchester, partnering with local restaurants. I was pleased and proud to help support their ongoing efforts to help our local residents by participating in their Horseman's Hollow plunge last Saturday. Pleased and proud and absolutely freezing cold. Do any of my other board members want to share any announcements before our town hall meeting?
Hats off to you for doing that plunge. Amazing. You know,
we needed
they raised
that,
like what, $29,000.
Yeah, I think he said
thanks to people like you. That's not for me.
It's all right.
But way to go.
People can still donate on their website. So anyway, but thank you very much. It was mighty, mighty cold. And next year, we'll say next year. Some people say next year in Jerusalem. I say next year in Ossining. Hopefully we'll be back. In any case, anybody else have any other announcements? Anybody else want to tell me how crazy I am? No, okay.
You already know.
It's true. It's true. It was colder than either of my snow binges in my backyard, so I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I saw it, but that was the closest I want to get.
Good thinking. Okay, so we have some wonderful guests here tonight. I know we are all sort of dreading the 1-year anniversary of the pandemic, lockdowns, etc. But good news, we are celebrating a happier anniversary tonight. On February 24th, 2020, we officially launched a residential food scraps recycling program at Cedar Lane Park. Although we had no idea what was in store for us last year, we were able to get this important program off the ground, and in fact, it has thrived. We have a few guests with us here tonight. Nadia Hall from partner number 1, Teatown Lake Reservation, Susie Ross from partner number 2, Green Ossining, and finally, our very own Marcus De Silva with the town. Is Marcus here with us? I don't know.
Marcus is not here with us yet. He's having some technical difficulties, but he'll be on as soon as he can.
Okay. And they're here to discuss some of our accomplishments in the first year and to talk about what we can look forward to in 2021. Do we want to wait and start doing our resolutions for Association of Towns while we wait for Marcus, or what do you suggest?
We can get started because there's a couple different things to talk about. So I'd say we'll get started, and when he joins, he can add in his 2 cents.
In which case, I'm going to turn it over to our budget officer, Victoria Caffarelli, who successfully wrote the grant for the Food Scraps program and has been overseeing its administration. And I'm going to let Victoria kick off the presentation and further introduce our guests.
Yes, okay, thank you. Okay, let me share my screen for our PowerPoint, which was done with a lot of help from Karina. So thank you, Karina, for your work on the presentation. So yes, we are here with a happy anniversary of our first year of our food scraps recycling program. This is something we had worked on for some time, trying to get some grant funding for, and we finally received grant funding from the DEC it was probably about 2 years ago now, before we could actually get the program up and running. And the program, the funding from the DEC has allowed us to hire a part-time staff member to oversee the collection site, which is Marcus, which he'll wave when he gets on, as well as working with T-Town for the education piece of this project. So it's been really helpful to have the funding from the DEC to get this started. And I think we've seen how, even in a very challenging year, it's certainly gotten off the ground and been really a great thing for the Austining community. Why doesn't it let me? Okay, there we go. So rewinding a year back to our launch, we started at T-Town's Eagle Fest, which I know was a big hit. So Nadia, Susie, I don't know if you want to add anything about Eagle Fest first, because I know you were both there, and that was really a great way to sort of start the program. If there's anything you want to add on that.
Sure. I mean, I'll jump in to say that it was a great way to find out just how much interest there already was. And so to be able to reach those people and let them know what was coming was a great opportunity for us.
And I'll just add that the day, obviously Croton Point Park, you're not in Austining. And I think every person that came through that was from Austining, we had a chance to talk to, and I think we got a lot of people on the mailing list that day. I know we sold a few kits, but it was a great way to connect with the community in a very tangible and important way. So I was really excited about that, and I think that the community was too.
And then we started with our official ribbon cutting, which was last year, February 24th. I went back on our calendar to see what the exact day was, so we know what the real 1-year anniversary is. And this is a picture of that day, which was, really exciting, but unfortunately we of course had a lot more in store we did not realize. Okay, Nadia, do you want to talk a little bit about the communications and the website launch?
Sure. So little did we know when we decided to utilize a web component, just how important that would turn out to be in the last year. So just to run through a little bit about what the website offers at austiningcompost.org, it tells you both about the program and the specifics about how to participate, as well as who's involved, who the partners are, and also just why composting is important, what goes into it, what food scrap recycling is. So critically, it tells people what they can and can't put in so we can have the cleanest product possible when we send it to the commercial facility. But it lets people know the specifics too about where to go and how to participate. So we were able to then let people know when we had the secondary drop-off site at the farmers market, we were able to disseminate that information, and it allows them to sign up for the mailing list. That's been quite a success. Also, it's important that this website's available in Spanish as well, so we can reach more of the communities. And the final component on the website are the kit sales. So people are able to buy as a kit, the pail, the countertop piece, as well as those compostable bags. So again, whereas we had planned to have both an online and say in-person component, relying maybe more heavily on the in-person buying component, it really turned out to be something that we were exclusively doing online, and that's worked out really well. And as I think we'll touch on in just a little bit, T-Town is starting up our own web store. So we're hoping to be able to offer kits through T-Town's website as well, because we do have some kits that we are not able to offer currently because our nature center is still closed. I don't think Marcus is in here quite yet, Victoria, but I know that we have had success with the mailing list, and that's been a great tool and one that we hope to be able to utilize more in the coming year as we reach out to everyone and we give them program updates, and we provide more information, tidbits, like learning and educational pieces, and also as anything with the program changes or expands, or potentially, hopefully, eventually, we'll have a closer commercial composting facility, and so we'll be able to reach out and keep track of everyone in that way.
Yes, and certainly the mailing list was helpful when we sort of had to shift things due to COVID in the spring. So it was very helpful to already have that reach out into the community. And I know Marcus has been able to add all of the participants to the mailing list, and also anybody who just wants to sign up for it and might be interested or might use the program without necessarily buying the kit from us, which of course people can do. Okay, so for our communications, this is what we provide to everybody when they purchase a kit, which explains what you can and can't collect and how to reach out to us for questions. We do have a dedicated email address for this program. And again, all of these communications are translated in Spanish. We're very grateful that Marcus is trilingual, actually, and has been able to help make sure that whatever we put out there, everybody can understand, no matter what language they speak, pretty much in Ossining. Okay, so one of the biggest challenges, obviously, for us and most everything that happened last year was the pandemic. In March, we converted to 100% online sales, which allowed people to pre-order their kit and pick up at the Cedar Lane Art Center at first, and then we were able to shift to the farmers market, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But also we have a presence at T-Town. So Nadia, if you want to share, I know it's been a little challenging for you guys as well, but certainly helpful to have that presence there.
Right. So one thing that we did immediately was we made a permanent public display, which unfortunately, again, our nature center has been closed since March. But as soon as we did get those kits in, they were really more or less flying off the shelves. There's a lot of interest, and because we are so close to the drop-off site, we have an immediate contact with a lot of those community members that were interested, and were able to use T-Town as an alternate pickup site. And so, as I mentioned just a moment ago, we are hoping now that we are opening our online store, that's something that we're going to be able to include on there as well, just to, offer another way, hands-free, touch-free way that people can get their hands on these kits.
Great. Okay. And so we put in this graph to show how the sales have gone throughout the year. Obviously there's been some months that are more popular than others. We had a huge, right out the bat, start out with in February, which was really great, and sort of gone up and down, but it's certainly shown that we've been able to maintain pretty consistent interest in the program and people making purchases. And of course, this is only the people who are actually purchasing kits to utilize the drop-off site. People do not necessarily need to buy the kit from us in order to participate. They can just bring their compost to the drop-off site. So this isn't necessarily capturing everybody who participates in the program, but we have had consistent interest in the program, and sometimes people just buying the compost bags themselves. So it's been really great that we were able to shift to that new platform, and it's worked out really well. Okay, Susie, do you want to talk a little bit about the farmers market?
Great, thank you. So we were really excited about this program, and it gives us an opportunity every week to be out at the market talking to people. For lack of a better pun, the farmers market is low-hanging fruit for us because it's people who understand the importance of supporting farmers locally, and it's people who are willing to stop and have a conversation at times to talk about the importance of sustainability. So this really was a great compliment to the things that we're trying to do in the community. And, my hat's off really to Dana and Victoria for pushing this, because I remember visiting Scarsdale with Dana, and we were really excited about the program up off the ground, I think 3 years ago. So it takes time, but when we finally had the opportunity to be part of it, we were really excited. Our first day at the market was in July. I think it was a Facebook Live event that we did with Nadia, and that kind of kicked us off. I think that picture is that day that we launched. You'll notice that we have signage on the bins. People, I think the first few weeks we had probably, I don't know how many people were participating, 10, 15, whatever. Not a lot of volume in the totes. But I think every week now we are probably up to about 1 tote a week, and I know that'll be talked about in a moment. But we are supplementing what's going on at Cedar Lane. So while Cedar Lane is open from dusk to dawn, dawn to dusk, dawn to dusk, right? Dawn to
Yes,
dusk.
dawn to dusk.
Yeah, and Marcus is there Monday. What are his hours? I forget, but
He's
it's
there Monday through Saturday, but just in the morning. So pretty much if you order a kit the night before, you'll be able to pick up your kit the next day because Marcus will be there and able to service you and make sure everything's okay over there at Cedar Lane.
yeah, and that was, and for us, that meant that Saturdays just provide another opportunity for us to connect with the community, but in a different hub. So this was a great way for people who walk to the market to be able to get to participate in the program. As Victoria mentioned, you don't have to buy the kit, but people don't understand composting altogether, and people don't understand compostable bags. And again, it's a free program, but you can purchase these kits. So we've had a lot of opportunity to talk to the community, teach them. We've by presence in the market have gotten more people able to participate. We promote the program every week. We try to promote it every week on all of Green Ossining Media. And we're there 2 hours every Saturday, and there's consistency now where we're seeing the same people obviously come and drop things off, and some of them just come with a bin and they dump their contents into the totes and don't have to purchase anything. So the free part of this is important, that people understand that you don't have to pay to participate in this. And the farmers market has been a great partner because they also do promotion on their website and on their email list about the program as well.
Susie, can I just ask Victoria to point to Marcus in case he can't join us so everybody can meet Marcus?
Oh, sorry. I've got like a couple things up. This is Marcus right here. You can only see half of his face.
That's Marcus. Okay.
Yeah,
Marcus. The other thing that's really cool is that if you buy, like, some of the vendors at the farmers market have compostable containers, which you wouldn't be able to compost in your backyard compost, but commercial compost you can. So you can bring them back to the farmers market the next week and throw them out in the compostable bins there. FYI. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's good.
but compostable, not biodegradable, because those are apparently two different things.
Yeah,
So
two different things, and that's where the education comes in. So this has really given us a great opportunity to talk to people in a very different way and be at the market every week to keep this, to keep promoting this program. And what our feedback has been from people that come and talk to us is just they love the opportunity to actually have this finally in our community. So we're really, we're proud of the town for taking the lead and T-Town being a great partner. And again, the farmers market is a great partner for all things green. So we're really enjoying it.
yes. Okay. And I think we have Marcus now on. Marcus, do you want to unmute yourself and say hello? You can hear me? Maybe. Marcus, hello.
Hello?
Oh, there we
Can you
go.
hear me?
Hi, Marcus.
Yes, hi everybody. I'm so sorry I'm so late for this. We are on slide number.
I don't know what number we're on.
Yes, we
Oh,
are
slide
already in the
number
bottom
7.
there.
So is there anything you want to add about, so far we've talked about communications and sales, and I know you've been really the
Yes,
front face of that. So.
okay, I was supposed to say something about communication on slide number 3. I don't know if anybody said anything about it, or should I go back to it?
We did cover some things, but if there's anything you want to add, we talked about how, you're able to add people to the mailing list when they come and purchase a kit,
Okay.
and,
Okay.
what those uses have been. So if there's anything you want to add,
Yes.
go ahead.
Okay, so I don't know exactly what you girls were talking about before on the slide number 3, but what I have to say is that with the intention to keep our subscribed residents informed and up to date with the program announcements, our mailing list has over 300 names, to be more precise, about 335 names right now. Also, all of our forms of communication are translated into Spanish on our website through flyers and handouts that can be found included in our compost kits and in our farmers market table every Saturday morning. And through our signages in our Cedar Lane Park drop-off site. And what else can I say about that? And then let's see on communication on the number 4, our food scraps recycling guide. It tells how to use it, or the best way to use by collecting the food scraps instead of just putting them in the garbage. You know, how to recycle old leftovers into compost, and how to properly use our compostable bags, countertop pail, and how to store and carry into a larger bin from our home into our drop-off sites, you know, which is the Cedar Lane Park, and as we know, and now on Saturday mornings at the farmers market. It also tells how to accept and not to accept items that can be considered from food scraps into compost, which is a very valuable piece of information. Why recycle food scraps? And food scraps are one of the largest components of trash, central landfills and incinerators. However, food scraps are not really trash. They are useful. It's a good source to be turned into compost. And what is compost? Is a soil amendment which enriches the soil. It benefits, you know, our landscape. And as we all know, it's a double win by not trashing the food into our regular garbage, by transforming that into compost. So about sales, let's see, that's slide number 5. Since we started this program about like a year ago, when we had, or I think it was in February 8th, we had the Eagle Fest, the T-Towns Eagle Fest, and then our ribbon cutting ceremony, the press conference ceremony, February 24th. Our mission has continued, that is to educate our residents about composting and to have, as one of our goals, more towns, villages to participate and have their own food scraps program. Along with that mission is our commitment to sell our kits and bags. And we had a great start selling the compostable bags and the kits, initially in person at Cedar Lane Park. And then due to the pandemic, we had to transfer that into online purchases, unfortunately. I don't know if I am jumping ahead right now. I am still on the number 5. Yeah.
That's good.
Yes,
Okay.
so far this is it.
Okay. So let's go ahead.
Yeah.
And next up, we have talk about how much we've started collected. I know we've certainly grown. So Marcus, what have you been seeing at Cedar Lane, and how we've sort of grown since last year?
Yeah, it's been a steady, a little bit slow sometimes, especially during the summer months, and also associated with the pandemic. You know, it wasn't as fast growing as it was in the beginning. And as you can see on the graphic that we have here on slide number 6, you can see how it started kind of like with the higher numbers in the very beginning, in the first 2-3 months during winter, and then it slowed down in summertime, but became pretty much steady. So hopefully it will continue to grow, which was a very good beginning.
So Marcus, we're now on slide number 8. So in terms of the toters and how that's been filling up, what have you been seeing at the park in relation to that, and the urban carting pickups?
Yes, on the slide 8, we started a program with 5 toters, and then soon after our grand opening, we we noticed like more and more residents to start to stop by and to join our program. And we quickly had to move from 5 to 8. And then eventually by the end of summer or midsummer, in August, we went to 10, and then in November to 12 toddlers. And then in July, when we started our program with our second location at the farmers market Saturday mornings, we added another one. So we are right now at 13 toddlers, and they are pretty much full to the maximum capacity, which is very good. So yeah, that was in July. And suburban carding has been pretty steady with the pickup, like every week, like either Tuesday or Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see how it goes. In the near future, if we have to move up to even more, to 15 toddlers, I'm not sure how that's going to work, but it's always good. The more, the better.
Yes. And we're also shifting this year to the county actually introduced an intermunicipal agreement for municipalities that are part of their refuse disposal district. So this means that we're going to now be paying a lot less actually for the carding costs, which is really great. So that just started, I believe in January, we were able to switch to that program. And something Marcus alluded to as well is that what we've also started to see is that sometimes we have people who may be from another community, or they hear about it from a friend who lives in Austin, and they reach out to us and see if this is something they can participate in.
Yes.
Right now this program is only for residents, but because of this change with the county, it's actually much more affordable for other communities to consider doing something like this, because the carding fees really are the most expensive part. So I know, I think Nadia, you guys have started working with, we've heard from Yorktown, they're interested in starting their own program. So it's certainly, it's nice to see it continue to grow even throughout the county beyond Ossining as well.
I'm sure it's just a drop in the
Excellent.
bucket, but at some point, hopefully, and that is a good pun, but at some point, I think that it will be interesting to see what the offset to our hauling is, how we've reduced any amount hauling. Of course, it's a little complicated because it's for town and 2 villages, which we don't haul for, but it would be nice to see if it's gone down at all.
Yeah, and what is going to be interesting with the county IMA, right now we don't really have great data in terms of the tonnage that we're disposing because of the way that these toters, they're 65-gallon, 55-gallon toters, so it's sort of hard to figure out the equivalent in terms of tonnage that we're disposing every week. But the way that the county billing is now, I think it is by tons. So we'll start to get a little bit more concrete data by participating in this program to sort of understand how much we're disposing of each week. Previously, we just sort of had a set amount up to 10 toters, and then afterwards you got billed per toter. So, that will give us a little bit more information moving forward as to what we're actually disposing, which will be interesting to see. Okay. Next, the education piece, which was a pretty big feature of our grant. So Nadia, do you want to talk about some of the stuff T-Town's been working on with us?
So this is sort of the fun part. This is where you take people with one behavior, which is making your dinner, taking your scraps and throwing them in the trash, and you're going to convince them not to do that and to do something different, and convince them that it's actually really easy and really effective and a great thing to do for the environment, as well as their own sort of home recycling system and their community at large. So we did that in a number of ways, and here's a sample. So I'll go through some of these that were pretty effective. So one way that we always try to do just as T-Town is anytime that we had an event in Ossining or that was created for an Ossining audience, we made sure to have information about the program there. So for instance, when we were at the Ossining Public Library for an event, we had a table set up, we had a kit there, we had someone, me, there discussing and talking to people and explaining to them what it was, because you tend to run into 2 types of people. You get the people who don't really know what it is, but are interested and maybe take a little bit of convincing. And then you have people who are already really excited about composting, really excited to be involved with the program, but might need some more education on exactly how to do that, because it might be different than what they've been doing in their backyard and how they've composted previously, because we are doing it through a commercial composting facility. So some of those items are different, and pleasantly you can include a lot more in commercial facilities. So people are able to actually extract more out of their normal trash and put it into the composting program. So in addition, I was able to teach 2 Ossining Explore and Learn summer courses through a middle school, in which we focused specifically the entire time on food waste, on food scrap recycling, on composting, and on how they can participate in Ossining's program. So that was really effective because the students are at home and this was taught virtually. They were there with their families already. I got to speak to some of their parents, find out some of their practices that they're already doing at home, and have a better exchange and a more personal exchange about what some of those obstacles people had in the way of them participating, and maybe clear up some of the misconceptions so that they were able to participate. Ossining was featured, this program was featured in Westchester County's food waste study release. So that was a wonderful moment for Ossining to be recognized for all of the great work that they're doing and jumping on early to getting this food scrap recycling program going so that they can share their experience, and we can let everyone know just what a viable program this is. We also held a program for Yorktown 100. So while this is not specifically for an Ossining audience, it is partly because of the Cure 100. It involves Ossining, so we might get some of those people. But again, it's another way for Ossining to share their experience, because this is something that benefits everybody when it's done at a more regional, intermunicipal level, because as more communities participate, the costs go down because we're all working together. We can share in the carding, we can share in those routes, so it works out better for everybody. We've maintained a series of social media posts and blog posts. As Susie said earlier, we had a wonderful Facebook Live at the farmers market, and we continue to do that. We hope to expand that in the coming year, but it does have a permanent spot now, say on our Instagram, a permanent stories, so that information is always available. And we are able to see after each of these events that traffic to the OssiningCompost.org website does spike. So people are paying attention, they do want to go and learn more, and they are making those efforts to at least look into participating afterwards. And so through all these efforts, we've been able to be featured in the Examiner News, the River Journal, and LOHUD, amongst some others, on articles as other communities gain more interest in the program.
Great. Okay. And we also made some improvements to the collection site this year. Besides obviously establishing it and creating it, we made a couple of changes that I think were well received. So Marcus, do you want to talk a little bit about the hose that we installed, and also how we've been able to make sure all the signage is bilingual?
Mm-hmm. Yes, on slide 10, as the program progressed, improvements were done to our collection site, initially with the signage in both English and Spanish, in assisting residents to let them know the direction and exact location of the food scraps drop-off, including information of what items can be and cannot be accepted in the drop-off totters. Also, the addition of the hose was important because it helped to facilitate residents in rinsing off their food scraps pails, which was a good thing to do too. Unfortunately, now with winter time, we cannot use that because, of course, all the pipes will freeze, so that there's no water outside to clean anything. But yeah, unfortunately, it is what it is. It's part of winter. But yeah. The signage was very important, and the hose also was a very good addition to our location at Cedar Lane.
Yes, I think even former Mayor Victoria Garrity highlighted that. I remember seeing a post that she shared of, I went to the food scraps and I can wash my bin. So it's cool when I take it home. So it's a good little added feature, and we certainly received a lot of guidance from our friends in Scarsdale to help learn some things that they learned in the implementation of their program that was helpful for the residents.
Correct.
Okay, so now looking ahead to 2021, which will hopefully be a little bit of a better year for everything, and expand the program. So as Nadia mentioned earlier, having a new e-store at T-Town as well for kit sales, switching to the county IMA for hauling, which I discussed earlier, as well as monitoring how much waste we're actually generating so we can get a little bit more data that we can share with the public about this program. And also taking advantage more of our mailing list, since we have such a great reach into the community with this mailing list, be getting starting some more regular updates for people to learn about the program. We would also like to try to engage some of the folks who are at Cedar Lane, so we have the groups with the community garden as well as the art center. Certainly when things were happening more in person, it was a good introduction for a lot of people who are already sort of there, already using the park in this way, to learn about this program. We're also hoping to do in the spring a compost take back day, which is something that is other communities that have this similar program will use. Since our compost does go to a commercial facility, it's not necessarily something that we have a compost pile people can take from if they participate in the program. But what other communities have done is they send up a truck up to the facility in Ulster County to collect some of the compost, that people can come with their bins and fill up their bins with compost when they come and fill it up, drop off their food scraps, so that they can sort of see the full cycle of what they're doing and how it can benefit the environment and also perhaps their garden in the spring. And also figure out ways that we can perhaps partner with that Ulster County site, which may be bolstered, of course, with more municipalities in the county participating, so that we can, again, see that full circle of what people are doing. We'd also like to try to introduce the food scrap recycling to our town employees and some of our town facilities. I have also spoken to the village manager's office about that. It's certainly something they're interested in, where people could dispose of their food scraps from their lunch or their breakfast when they're at work, so that they see that option and maybe think of it at home too. Even if they don't necessarily live in Ossining, they can participate in the program. We're also continuing to monitor, one of the sort of downsides of this program is that the food scraps does get carted all the way to Ulster County. That's the closest commercial compost facility to us. We have been hearing rumors pretty much for as long as we've been working on this program that hopefully a new site will be opening in Cortland soon, or perhaps even the county may be running a similar type of facility. So it would cut down on some of the greenhouse gas emissions for taking it all the way up to Ulster County, and also perhaps our carting costs as well. We're going to continue to monitor what the usage is, so we can sort of explore if there might be ways to expand the program in the future with curbside pickup or different collection sites besides just at Cedar Lane, and continue for more signage, more awareness of the program, and then also tie in with Green Ossing's launch of Ossining 100 and Cure 100 to help people understand how they can shift their behaviors and be a little bit more green. So before we wrap up, I don't know if anybody wants to add anything. I just sort of ran through the list we've been discussing together, but yes, Susie Ross, I see you waving your hand.
No, I just wanted to thank the board as well for, you might remember that you wrote a resolution supporting the launch of the Ossining 100 chapter, and we remind people of that. And it's important, just going back to say thank you, because it does give us an opportunity to talk about how the board is, forward looking with regard to environmental advocacy. So I appreciate that. And I remind them of your support when we have the opportunity to talk about the carbon tracker, because this does actually become part of the benefit of being mindful of your carbon emissions, and this is one of them.
Yes. Okay. I think I'm going to stop sharing so we can all look at each other and see if anybody has any questions or anything for our food scrap composting group here.
First, I just want to say thank you so much to Green Ossining and to T-Town and to Marcus and to Victoria for that wonderful presentation. It was it was great. And it was, the program seems like it's going really well. And I think the biggest challenge now is just to double and triple it. That's going to be, the next goal is to continue the education and make sure that we get as many people to know about it. I know when people learn about it, they're always really excited. you know, again, it's open to everybody from the villages of Ossining, Briarcliff, and unincorporated town. And people either are happy to just drive their stuff out once a week to Cedar Lane Park, and there are the bins, and Mark's doesn't have to be there, just the bins do, and they put their stuff in, or to go to the farmer's market, and where they can get, you know, some great new produce, as well as and other delights, as well as you know, get rid of their food scraps. It really does take a tremendous amount of weight if you don't feel like lugging your garbage outside, you know, with all the stuff dripping out. It takes a tremendous amount of weight out of your garbage can. And I think people usually just generally bring either their green or their little white toters, or not toters, but, you know, the little bins with them, and then they dump them and then rinse them and bring them back. So it's just not, it's not such a big deal. I know that, you know, I remember we talked a lot with the people from Scarsdale about, do people complain about bugs and this and that? And they did so much research on the particular types of these little bins that we have to make sure that they were really sealed well and all of these sorts of things. So there's a lot of benefits to having not been the first ones to introduce this program. The bins themselves do not smell, as far as we haven't gotten any complaints about smell. And same thing with the ones in your house. So, you know, it's easy enough to sign up. Marks, maybe you can remind everybody how they, or ossingcompost.org, right? You can figure out right there how to get your own bins. Hopefully when T-Town's open one day, you can get them there. You can order them in advance, and Marcus will have them at curbside for you. And it's hopefully more and more people will get with the program about composting. If you don't compost in your own backyard, or even if you do, there's more stuff that you can compost with commercial composting than you can with your backyard compost. Because like I said, there's certain types of products. If you go to First Village Coffee, I'm pretty sure they have compostable cups. And probably also Good Choice Kitchen has a lot of compostable stuff if they're not using reusable things, but their takeout stuff. And I know, again, some of the vendors at the farmers market use compostable containers. So those you wouldn't necessarily put in your backyard compost. So anyway, thank you everybody so much. I'm going to open it up to questions from the board or discussion that anybody might have as well from our public after our board has questions. So does anybody have questions, comments?
I want to thank our partners, especially, I know you're at the farmers market. I see you posting every day, every week about being down there. I think it's been really great to educate the public and remind them that you're there. And I just want to thank you all. It's been going great.
Adding the farmers market as another drop off is a great idea. Just increasing the accessibility, which is, you know, what we're all about, trying to get as many people excited and able to do it as possible. So thank you for that.
And anything else from our anybody else who's on our screen right now? And if not, we'll just open it up to any comments from our attendees who are, if you want to raise your virtual hand and we can unmute you and you can be recognized. And if you have anything to comment on or questions or anything like that. Yeah.
Comment, if I may.
Sure.
I just wanted to also, there's a distinction between backyard composting and what we're doing with this program. That's important because there are people that do backyard composting, yet they participate in this program. And the main difference is that you can't backyard compost dairy, meat, fish, things of that nature. But you can in a commercial facility. So the benefit of this program is actually even people who do backyard composting and really get it. Still now, we still are seeing people that are coming in with that type of stuff to the market because we're having conversations with them. And we know that it's also an added benefit to even those who understand the value of composting. So again, you can't backyard compost, you know, meat and dairy or fish, but you can bring it to the market or you could drop it off at Cedar Lane.
Fantastic. Okay, so I think we do not have anybody who has any questions from our public.
I do not see any hands raised.
And Okay, so we're going to then switch over. I'm going to say thank you to all of our participants once again. Susie and Nadia, thank you so much. Marcus, Marcus, you're still there. I'm not seeing your face, but your name. Thank you so much for participating. Again, Victoria, thanks for taking the lead on this project. You're staying with us, but all of the rest of you, if you don't feel like staying around to hear about resolutions from the Association of Towns, we'll just say thank you so much and have a great night. And we look forward to our continued good partnership. And like I said, to increasing, doubling and tripling the amount of people that are involved in this and the awareness that we can raise to continue to help our sustain our earth.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up, we've got fun. So for some reason, and I don't really know what the reason is, this year we didn't get an advance notice of the Association of Towns resolutions, but we happen to be right in the middle of our annual meeting of the Association of Towns, which is the organization that kind of represents all of the towns in the state of New York and also develops a legislative agenda. Yesterday and today, I, along with other members of the town staff, attended the annual Association of Towns conference. And although it was virtual this year, we did have a lot of programs where we learned a lot, most of which were focused on lessons from the pandemic and suggestions on out-of-the-box thinking to cope with these unprecedented times. One not so great, something that we learned: while we continue to get our share of sales tax apportionment through the county's distribution to localities outside of cities, the portion of overall sales tax has been reduced because the state withholds some of it to use to replace what had been a budget allocation for AIM, or Aid to Municipalities funding. Additionally, another portion of that statewide sales tax collection is also being withheld to be distributed as distressed provider assistance, which we know is needed, but also takes away from the town's ability to get the funding that we were counting on out of our sales tax apportionment. So we're going to have to continue to proceed cautiously. It is possible that the next CARES Act budget will help offset some of the withheld amounts. So if the state does get enough money to cover their costs, which we do anticipate will be in that bill, hopefully we will see some of that money returned. But again, we do have to proceed cautiously. Otherwise, the good news is that we have budgeted very, very conservatively for our sales tax estimates, and I don't think we really raised them, even though we did better as a result of the county raising their sales tax by 1% last year. Hopefully, ultimately that will work in our favor, but right now there is concern that, again, the allocations for towns and other municipalities who did receive AIM funding is going to be reduced. Not just because they are always trying to cut AIM funding, but because also the way that they've reallocated it takes away from other sources for us. Tomorrow morning is the annual meeting of the delegates, when each town can vote on resolutions which the association adopts as their legislative and programmatic priorities for the year. Before voting tomorrow, I just wanted to give the board an opportunity to review the resolutions and offer any comments or suggestions. I would have to say that most of them are about local control and more funding for towns. And as they have been pretty much every year, there's, preserve and support home rule, which is what we have here in the state of New York. Share potential cannabis revenue if the cannabis bill goes through, which we anticipate that it will. And support a local option to opt out, which cities, I think over 500,000, have the ability to do, but not under that amount. Support the expansion of cellular and broadband service while preserving local authority about siting. Seek town input for clean and renewable energy decision-making and initiatives. Also, most of that is about siting, but also being at the table with the state as they're making decisions about clean energy and any kind of tax benefits that might accrue to those clean energy initiatives. Provide towns the authority to determine town real property tax exemptions and pilot agreements for county IDA sponsored projects, and that's again for when counties offer benefits to developers. They often come with a payment in lieu of tax agreement, and the localities don't usually get to weigh in on what those are or what the tax exemptions might be. So this is advocating for the state to require that localities and towns get to be at the table. Support and fund local roads, bridges, and highway operations. And that is just that the funding really has been frozen for so long. There have been a couple of new revenue streams coming from the state. A lot of times it's federal money gets from through the state, but our CHIPS funding has been frozen for many years, and we get very little money for infrastructure improvements. Yet, unlike school districts who have an exemption that they're allowed to spend money on infrastructure and capital improvements that doesn't get calculated as part of their tax cap, that's not the case for municipalities. That's not really going to change, so we just need more help and more money to continue to fund our infrastructure improvements. Provide training and funding for police reform requirements. And we know that there's a lot of requirements that came down from the state, which we're grateful for, but there are also costs involved. So I think we're looking for help from the state so that some of the programs and the reforms that are going to be part of the recommendations from the police reform will be helped with some offset funding. Support funding for town justice courts by increasing reimbursement rates, authorizing surcharges to help pay for town prosecutors, and address unpaid parking and traffic fines, which are difficult to collect. I think we only receive about $15 per violations, and that's been frozen also for a very long time. Provide towns with more options to address revenue shortfalls and cover operating expenses. That's specifically now to help give us more time to pay back short-term loans so that they don't go into effect immediately basically within the calendar year when we're borrowing to help offset shortfalls. Support funding for towns during COVID. Again, that's because the federal government really hadn't stepped up to the plate, and we're hoping that they do, and that money gets funneled down to the towns. Collaborate with towns on responses to COVID-19 and vaccine distribution. We heard a little bit about some of the issues with vaccine distribution that we're already experiencing. As the federal government does ramp up the distribution, we're hoping that we can step up also at the local level and help with that. Create a statewide committee to evaluate the impacts of recent criminal justice reforms. There's a lot of talk about the rollback of bail, and that it has had an impact on notifications and how localities have been hit with additional expenses. We don't necessarily believe that any of those reforms should change, but that there should just be a different way that we can help offset some of the funding. Amend the utility and be at the table to discuss the reforms and what improvements can be made to make the process more streamlined. Amend the utility moratorium on termination of services to ameliorate the financial burden on local governments. And I forget which one that is, but I will find it if I can. Termination of services. I forget what that is. I'm gonna go find that one. And then while you guys ask any questions, and then proactively eliminate the dark store theory as a valuation method to reduce real property tax assessments. And that's mostly about big box stores getting their assessments reduced because they're not open anymore, and they want to reduce their assessed value, but it doesn't really work because it just ends up where everybody else has to pick up the burden while they sit there with their dark stores. Let me just see. Amend the utility. This is a resolution based on one submitted by the Association of Erie County Governments. Governor Cuomo signed legislation that placed a moratorium on utility termination of services, or this is during the pandemic because of the state of emergency. Local governments are prohibited from terminating or discontinuing residential utility services for any user for non-payment of bills. So we're not saying that they should be penalized. We're just saying that the utility termination has significantly decreased municipal revenues and increased municipal indebtedness as local government utilities work to provide essential services with less funding. To that end, the Association of Towns requests that federal and state government provide financial assistance to municipal enterprise funds in order to properly comply with this state mandate. So I think, as I mentioned, for the most part, these are all asking for either more control, more input, or more money. I don't know, does anybody have issues with any of these, or are there any ones that you want to specifically discuss?
I don't have an issue with any of them. I read through them. I think they're all reasonable. Reasonable asks, or reasonable to support.
Okay. Councilman Meyer, do you have anything to add to any of these from your perspective in the state? No?
No, I think I have to abstain from it.
I figured.
My day job. But.
Yes, that makes plenty of sense. Is there anything that anybody has any problems with or issues? Otherwise, I think we should just vote to, and we're not voting, but just have consensus that we're going to vote yay for all of these, for supporting these. I'm sure they'll go through some back and forth and language tweaking, which is what usually happens at these things. But for the most part, none of them seem very controversial to us, I don't think.
Looks good to me.
All right, Councilman Welcher, you as well?
Yes, I read them.
Okay.
More than once and don't understand some of them, but I think we ought to go along with it.
All right, so it's not a regular meeting, we're not voting. We kind of went through them quickly. We do have some people in attendance here, and since we're in a town hall meeting, I'll just see if any our public has anything that they any questions on any of these resolutions? Anything to add?
While we wait to see if anybody raises their hand, I just want to throw out there, since you mentioned some of the things with the state withholding some funding. I know it was a question of the board at the beginning of the pandemic, how this would impact some of our grant funding that we have, since we do have a lot of grant funded projects going on right now. They did also share with us during the conference that the state comptroller had been withholding 20% of any grant refund requests, and they are actually going to be releasing 15% of that 20% withholdings from earlier in the year. Thankfully, that actually only impacted one of our grants that we had a reimbursement request out there pending that they withheld 20% of for our records management project. So it doesn't impact us a whole heck of a lot, but it's certainly good news that they're in a better position now to start releasing some of those funds for grant funded projects. So some good news.
Okay, and we are not seeing any hands raised. So with that, I am going to ask if there's anybody in attendance that would like to comment on any topic whatsoever. Since we do have some visitors, it's open for you. We often ask you to comment on anything that we're discussing, but if you have anything else that you wanted to discuss, please feel free to raise your hand. Okay. And seeing none, with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening and ask for a motion to adjourn this town hall meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. Also, one last thing, I just want to remind you that I think we're expecting some more weather coming up. So please continue to be safe, be vigilant out there on the roads. Be nice to the people who have to plow the roads and don't plow your snow into the roads. Clear your fire hydrants if you can, and don't go out on the roads if you don't have to, because it just makes it more difficult for everybody. And our next meeting will be a regular meeting on Tuesday, February 23rd at 7:30 p.m. As per our new normal, you can join us via Zoom or dial in by phone. Information for each meeting is posted on our website each Friday and sent as an e-blast to anyone who subscribes. Please feel free, again, to reach out if you want to volunteer for the COVID Angels program. If you want to subscribe to the email list, you can email me at dlevenberg@townofaustining.com. Have a great night, everybody.
You too.
Okay. And for the
Watch out for
board,
black
no
ice.
executive session. So you guys can go,
No executive
no
session.
executive session.
Really?
Finish your evening. Yes.
Have a great
Okay.
night, everybody. Enjoy.
Good night.
Take